So, according to some of the Chinese traditions, they believe in certain dualities like yin and yang. However, these represent royal crests that were made on a planet, not part of Earth. It's why there was warnings made not to get tattoos or cuts in the skin, or people putting these name sigils on themselves. Like if somebody were to wear a yin, but you're not going to be affected by this unless you have special cuts or piercings, or if you have special tattoos. Now, if you take a look at the yin and yang, they can be represented, these family sigils, by buttons. You notice how some of these buttons have a circle, a perfect circle, and then they have two circles representing the name, which would be put upon their clothing. Because if you notice, there's certain designs and design limitations that require buttons, and they have very specialized buttons as part of their invasion contract, so that the name would be on the people, but they wouldn't know that the name would be upon them. Now, some people might say, well, that's a Chinese symbol. It's not a Chinese symbol. It represents a from an Eretz Neshamite, actually the Aleph Hey Yod Hey family. Some people might say the Aya family is represented by that. Now, during the ancient terms, there are other symbols that they were representing families. Notice the circle with the four circles inside. Now, if you think about it and you look at other people and they have shirts on, if they're circumcised, if they have a circumcision is what? A circle cut, like a target. It's a ring, a ring cut. And sometimes the women get ring cuts. They would be wearing these buttons and it would represent sigils and families. And there's a hierarchy in all these AI minds. And there's certain families that are represented. And they cannot control the population unless they have those buttons on their clothes, which represent their names. And they have to have special cuts or earrings or tattoos. And then at which point the people wouldn't even know that they're underneath the control, because this happens at faster than the speed of light, or about the same speed as the speed of light. And then, so you'll notice there's certain family sigils that people put upon themselves and they get these tattoos, and then before you know it, they lose their mind. But if you take a look, some of these buttons, the way they designed is with a circle. How come the buttons aren't triangles? How come the buttons aren't squares? Very specific. You see how there's some buttons that are made with a cross? These are very special sigils that represent families that are trying to create their flesh and blood upon this eretz. And they cannot do it without the slaves that would be unwilling or willing slaves. Now, if you take a look here, and we can look this up really quick, and look up the circumcision rate around the world. Now, fought the circumcised armies on other planets, and the circumcision rate on the last planet that was unfortunately eliminated from, but then they were all eliminated by the Aleph Hey Yod Hey family, the percentage of the world population was less than 25% Hmong at the time of their invasion and creation of their species. Now, we take a look at the circumcision rate today, or or whatever wants to watch this video can take a look at the prevalence of circumcision. You take a look at China, take a look at India. These people would lose their minds if they write their contract into the earth. They only have to write their contract into the earth, and they'll lose their minds. So what you thought was working for yourself or for the UN, or you will own nothing and you will be happy, they won't be working for them anymore. they'll be part and parcel to their Aleph Hey Yod Hey master. And you can't think against your master lest you die, because your master will be your heart and your mind. 90%, 86.3% in South Korea, 80% in the United States, 58% Australia, 45% South Africa, 20.7% United Kingdom. You see, the question that a lot of people don't ask themselves is, are they flesh and blood to these names? Ask yourself this question. Look in the mirror and say, and point in the mirror at yourself and say, is that flesh and blood to Aya? Point in the mirror and say, is that flesh and blood to the Aya species? You should have your answer, and then you should know if you're a slave or your own master. Believe in breathe and if you don't have then breathe ah. Don't breathe another name but ah if you don't have a connection to Otherwise, I can put up tzitzit that you can purchase, but you'll have to be wearing white tzitzit.